I just want to introduce this session by saying that we obviously think a lot about languages in language assessment, naturally, but we normally talk about spoken languages, English, Spanish, German, etc. And my worry is that we forget about sign languages. And for the last, 5 years maybe, ALTE has tried to make sure that we actively remember sign languages and bring them into the ALTE community. And so I'm very pleased that Tobias has agreed to speak to us today and to hopefully open our minds to this sort of language assessment, which is very, very interesting. So thank you very much for coming. I'm going to give the floor to you right now. So thanks very much.
Okay, thanks a lot thanks for the invite. I think it's a great honor to be here. Yes, as you were saying, sign languages work in a totally different way. Some issues are the same across languages, independent of the modality. I just dive right into it. So what do we know about sign languages? Sign languages are languages of their own rights. They have their own grammar, their own lexicon. They're not international. In Switzerland, for example, we have 3 different sign languages. Interestingly, for example, American and British Sign Language are not related. But, for example, Australian and British Sign Language are related. Just to give a quick overview on what I'm talking about here. Sign language test research is a new field of inquiry in terms of research, but also an application to think about it in a more systematic way. And it has emerged over the last 20, 25 years, not testing adult learners of a sign language, but rather testing deaf children in schools. And only in the recent years it has emerged also in the discussion with the Common European Framework of Reference as a topic of inquiry. Now I'm focusing on the Swiss-German context, not the Italian-speaking part, not French-speaking, Swiss-German part. So what was the practice of teaching and assessing Swiss-German sign language before COVID? We have a sign language interpreter training program here in Zurich. We had different forms of summative and formative assessments in the classroom as final exams. A very important basis for any kind of sign language assessment or sign language to gather data on sign language is video technology. So you can imagine that's always you need to capture sign language by videos, which is much easier than, let's say, 20 years ago. So we have been sharing videos via cloud service, external hard drives, and so on. So what happened next? We all know that March 16th, at least in Switzerland, a few days before, a few days after, maybe in other parts of the world, or a few weeks before or after. So we were in the situation that we had to move everything online, teaching and assessment. So what we have been using, video conferencing tools for obvious reasons. We used more cloud services for sharing data and tried to implement both teaching and assessment in a learning management environment. Well, here came the tricky part. We had a final exam last June. So we were in the situation that we couldn't do it on site at the university. This exam was a comprehension test and a narrative production test. So what you see here, the receptive part actually was quite easy to implement. What you see here, I would try that the video plays. I don't know how I can do that. No, that didn't work. Well, anyways, what you see here is a multiple choice test. Obviously, there's on the left side, you see a question, the larger video. And on the right side, you see 3 signed responses, and then the test taker has to choose one, right? So that's easy to recognize. We implemented into Lime Survey. We have used this already for different projects pre-COVID, so it was easy to implement. Lime Survey is an open source tool for doing surveys, not for testing, but we managed. So this part worked quite well, actually. This entire test was 4 minutes long. And no, the narrative was 4 minutes long, and then it was repeated in 3 different sections where people had to answer 12 questions in total. So what we couldn't control for was if students were cheating, so proctoring, which I will talk about just in a second, couldn't really work. We only were able to say, okay, the survey is open from until when. So that was the only way we could control for time. Since it was a final exam, which is part of the diploma grade, it was kind of difficult how to deal with that. Productive skills. So what did we do? So we basically shared the test instruction by email. They had to they get preparation time as they would get for when they were at the university, and they had to record the video with their webcam, save it locally, and send it to us by a file sender like WeTransfer, but one that's been used in a educational context. So also here we couldn't do any proctoring, checking, because even if you would use one of those commercial providers that are around now, you can't use it properly because you need to use the webcam for video recording. So that's for me still an ongoing debate. We basically, it's a very small cohort. It was basically built on trusting students in this case, because that's the only way we could do it. So this is what we did during the pandemic, or still have to do for the next final exam. But what are possible post-pandemic scenarios? One is sign language recognition, which is the same which is part of natural language processing, right? Which we know for spoken languages. We have now a second project funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation, where the form of a sign has been recognized, combined with a vocabulary assessment and a recognition system, which provides immediate feedback to the learner, saying which part of the sign is right or wrong at this stage. This is very prototype stage. So we are moving up to a sentence level. Sign languages are in a way very complex, in a sense that you transfer meaning often the sentence level, not only what you do by your hands, but also what you do with your face or your body. So basically, a different head tilt can indicate a difference between a question or just an utterance, saying something is positive or negating part of the sentence. So everything you do on your face, basically, is linguistically highly relevant. And now we're in the stage of this new project, trying to develop the systems that it can recognize signed sentences or utterances, both on the manual level, so what I do with the hands, and the non-manual level, which is equally linguistically relevant. So, and we are also aiming, that's a 4 years project. We just started a few months ago. So the exciting part is to see if it will also work for interaction. As you can imagine, everything that it's only working as long as the system knows, the system that provides feedback, that recognize what you signed, what the learner signs, to provide, you need to know what's right and wrong. And that's a very difficult question that we can't really discuss here in depth. So what you see on the screen here, on the left side, the man with where you see the red circle, it's basically indicating that I just need to move up. That's the Swiss German sign for summer. What he did is he has the hand he has a different hand orientation. So the system is recognizing there's something wrong and provides feedback. So move on. Another post-pandemic scenario. One is really on the technical side, trying to implement more on technology, not only for teaching and learning, as assessment, but also in a formative context. But what I'm also a strong believer in, or hoping that we will be able in the future to have real life interaction again. So it will be, I think it will be a mix of real life interaction. I think everything that's online in terms of learning a sign language and assessing a sign language cannot be moved online also in the future. So if I would be in the situation to say, so what you want to keep, what you want to go back to, I think it will be a mix of both. It will be definitely more online, that's for sure. But learning a language that uses space, it has a different meaning if I locate a sign here or more towards my own body. It's very difficult when you have just 2D on your screen. We can tell now about our students that are learning, or people learning a sign language now only online. It has a lot of disadvantages. I personally believe in that it will be a balanced mix of both scenarios. Something that's online, that's using a lot of artificial intelligence, answer force, machine learning. On the other side will be also what we can do, in real life back then. So what we are planning to do, that's me, two colleagues, Franz Holzknecht and Wolfgang Mann. We're also planning a survey and actually trying to document the experience people made during the pandemic now in sign language teaching and assessment, to see what we can use also in the future in a good way. Not only because we had to, I mean, everybody has, the learning curve in the last 12 months are for everyone, I guess, very, very steep. So this is, that's something we want to document and to see how we can actually use it also in the future, or to say, okay, look, that's something we should do maybe on site at a university in reality. On that, something we definitely can keep online, for example. Yeah. So, oh wow, this was fast. I guess, hang on. I guess I would have another video, but I actually don't know how to play it. So thank you. That's the sign for thank you. So that's it. So I hand over the floor for questions.
Thank you very much. That is absolutely amazing. Really, really interesting. AI for sign language assessment. Wow, that blows my mind. I think that's really incredible. So thank you very much.